Hey everyone, welcome to See Ya Racing, another episode about horse racing and all the good things about it. Today we have Tom LaMarra. Tom LaMarra is a master at finding a good story. And then I'm going to let Tom intro himself a little more. He's got a lot more detail in his career in the riding world of horse racing.
Okay. Yeah, I wouldn't say that I'm a master. Sometimes you stumble onto things by accident, believe me. I got started as a journalist out of college. I graduated from Rutgers in 1986. And I ended up working at a couple small newspapers in South Jersey. Mainly, I was a municipal government reporter, and that's everything from township council, zoning board, planning board, school board, rent control board. And I learned a lot. It was very educational. And I was planning to stick with it. In 1990, about a month before my wife and I got married in South Jersey, I got a job in central Pennsylvania, about 2 hours north, as a copy editor. So we moved up to near Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania. We were there for almost 3 years. Somebody at one of my coworkers at the newspaper in Easton brought in an ad for a copy editor at the Daily Racing Form, which had an office in Jersey about maybe 8 miles from Freehold. So I applied for it, and it was a union job at the time. And I got it, and we ended up moving back actually central Jersey. But it only lasted 6 months because, like, a couple months into the job, they started talking about trying to get rid of the union and closing the office in Heightstown, which is where I worked. So by March, a few of us were offered transfers. The choice was Phoenix, Arizona, or Lexington, Kentucky. Well, my wife and I just said, well, we're not going to Arizona. So, and strangely, we had been, our first time in Lexington came 2 years before. My wife, I, and a friend went to like a week of the Grand Circuit meet at the Red Mile. We had never been to Kentucky. And so we liked it, but, we thought it was just a vacation, a 1-week vacation. But yet, so less than 2 years after that, we ended up living there for 22 years.
So what year was that?
We moved there in March of 1994.
94. And where are you today?
We currently live in Laurel, Maryland. We live about 15 minutes from Laurel Park Racetrack. We moved to Maryland in late 2016. So
10 years.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot different than, Kentucky. It's nice, but I'll say one thing. We have no regrets spending that 22 years there. No.
Yeah. So to have the viewers understand where I'm at, I've known Tom for many years, 20 something years, maybe. I think our first encounter maybe was 2099, 2001 or something like that at Bluegrass Downs.
Yeah.
In Kentucky. You were doing a story on Louisville Downs, I remember. And it was a great story because it still was those days where the horsemen still, that the impact of Louisville Downs was still there, still fresh, even at that 9-10 year mark. It's hard to cut your ties, so to speak, from Louisville Downs. So you come in, and I'm not sure what reason you had, but that was a great story, I felt. And that's where I met you. And then since then, through the years, we've had a little fun together, right? So, so, uh, and so your all portfolio maybe is, DRF, Daily Racing Form,
Yeah.
Hoofbeats, like,
Well,
so back in those days, I thought, man, you're writing for Hoofbeats, and a friend of mine, I think maybe, he was telling me about you, and I remember that. And then there's also the Blood Horse, which at the time may still be, was the biggest horse publication in the world. And what was your position there?
well, let me just jump back to 94.
Okay.
I stayed at the Racing Form for like another 2 years. But I did, I learned how to make an accurate morning line. I did a lot of writing, but I also did some handicapping
Yes.
for, I don't know. Like I covered the opening of Hoosier Park when it opened, the first thoroughbred meet, stuff like that. I did the turn.
As a handicapper.
Yes, yes, yeah. Morning line odds maker and handicapper. Then I got a job as news editor at Thoroughbred Times, which then was a competitor with Blood Horse. And then I got a call, or no. I was in a racing event in Texas, and the Blood Horse editor was there, and he started talking to me about that their news editor was leaving, and he basically offered me the job. So I did end up going to the Blood Horse in, I think, June or July of 98. And I was there through 2016 as the news editor. And later, as we really ramped up the website to the point where it was, I don't want to say 24/7, but it was definitely 7 days a week, probably 16 hours a day of just posting content when it happened. Again, it was a great experience. I think I burned out on it because it was just constant. Then, but when I was at the Thoroughbred Times, the managing editor, Don Clippinger, was serving as the media guy at the Red Mile because Tom White had gone to Scioto Downs. So Don asked me if I wanted to start writing some press releases and handling the morning line and all that kind of stuff. So, I'm showing my age here, but I used like the Lexington Herald Leader used to post full entries with comments for every horse, which I wrote.
Comments, I forget about those.
Yeah, which is unheard of nowadays.
Yeah.
And I did that for like 3 or 4 years. And so I kind of always kept my hand in the Red Mile because I could kind of help them out with some things. Then there was the year when something happened with the simulcasting fight between Keeneland and the Red Mile. And the Red Mile was going to lose.
Yeah, I remember.
Like a couple months, maybe. I forget how much it was. So they cut the spring meet, the night spring meet, to 15 days. And Jerry Monahan called me up and said, hey, you know how to call races? I said, well, I've heard a lot of track announcers call races, but no, I've never done it. You want to do it for 15 nights? He said, we'll pay you. I said, okay. What a disaster.
Well, Tom LaMarra,
no.
announcer.
Yeah. Number one, I don't have the voice for that, but I figured just try it out. Number two, the place still had that antiquated lighting system that had a bunch of lights out.
Yeah. So
Number
was it a lot of,
three, I had to use binoculars, and I'm calling a mile track, not a half-mile track. And I made so many mistakes. And when the 15 days was up, I was like, well, it was kind of fun, but not really. But something happened in 2002, the year that they got the new lighting system, and I got a call from somebody. I said, hey, we don't have an announcer. So this was like a 30-day meet. You were there.
yeah,
I actually called some of your wins anyway. So in 2002 and 2003, I did it. I think by the end of 2003, I was probably 85% accurate, which isn't bad. But like I said, I just didn't. I just don't have the voice for it. But it was fun. It was very educational.
yeah.
Um,
The comments, I don't remember. I didn't know that you did the comments.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
that seems like that'd be a lot of fun to do the comments.
It was. You have to
Put some
you
humor
have
in
to
it.
recognize your audience. You don't want to be too cute. You know.
Too caustic.
Well, no, yeah, I can remember. I grew up in South Jersey and right across the river from Philly, and um, you know, they always had a graded handicap for just about every local racetrack. And the guy that did Liberty Bell and Brandywine was a very, very good writer. But man, he would come up with some stuff that would just PO the horseman.
Yeah. I wonder, since the newspaper comments and things like that, I wonder if that, I use the word impact so much lately, but losing that, how much benefit was that to have that in there and capturing the audience or capturing the gambler? Because gamblers, you're a handicapper because I've looked this up. Um, Gamblers love reading that stuff, like you
Mhm.
love if you're betting, the guys I've talked to, they love going in and reading those comments. I wonder what year it was that sort of disappeared.
Well, it gradually
Faded.
disappeared, mainly because of the financial conditions of newspapers. I mean, looking back to the Herald, when we moved to Lexington in 1994, the Herald Leader was a rather thick paper,
Yeah.
and we had a subscription up until almost the time that we left. But the thing about Lexington was because, the meets were kind of like specialty meets, like the spring meet at the Red Mile was like 2 months at night. Keeneland had the spring and fall meet, maybe 15 or 16 days each. Red Mile had a 2-week Grand Circuit in the fall. So they were kind of like, you know, I mean, look, Lexington's a big city, but, in the early 90s, it was still kind of, um, you know,
Okay.
well, yeah, right, right. And I think people went to the racetrack. I mean, I can remember some nights at the Red Mile had like 2,000 people on a Friday night, which is pretty good considering. And for just racing, not historical horse racing machines. And so yeah, I think that people appreciated the comments because a lot of those people might not have ever gone to the races.
Yeah.
And the ones who did were always looking for some kind of information,
Yeah.
you know?
And, today it would have to be done online. And
Yes.
obviously you
Yeah.
know more about it than me because I have never done that, but it seems to be like that would be a daily chore task doing the comment on every race every
Yeah.
week.
But, a lot of tracks now, um, you know, they'll put out a tip sheet that generally is online, of course, because that's where most people go for the information. Harness racing's done a really good job um, of having racetracks that actually post the track program online and you can print it out or read it on your phone if you want, or your computer, you know. I mean,
Yeah.
there's other ways to get information now, you know,
Yeah.
than just reading a newspaper. I miss reading the newspaper, but it got to the point where, I'm not going to spend $3 or $4 a day for the Washington Post or some other newspaper. I'm just
No.
not going to do it.
I've tried to look at papers through the years through their online, and so many of them, they want you to subscribe. And man,
Well, that's how they
today's
make money.
world.
That's
Yeah, I know. I
that's
get it.
how to make
They
money.
so, so the formula they needed to find, they never found, I guess, because it's just, Google. Google was here and all these websites, and I I think the last one I subscribed to was Fort Wayne, Indiana.
Hmm.
Just because there was some interest in there for something for temporary, so I subscribed to it to read it a month.
Mm-hmm.
To
Mm-hmm.
follow a story for a month. Um, yeah, so that's interesting. Handicapping, comments, announcer. I didn't I didn't when I was talking about Tom LaMarra in my head, thinking about you, I wasn't thinking about that, but that's
Well, that was the hardest.
promising.
That was
Yeah,
the hardest side. Like with, I did a column for Horsemen and Fair World, which was based in Lexington,
yeah,
for uh, well, I think Chip Deal was the editor when he asked me to do it, but mainly for Kathy Parker and Gordon Waterstone.
yeah.
And then Hoofbeats did Hoofbeats. I still cover some, like regulatory and government stuff for U.S. trotting, like racing commission meetings, basically.
For hoofbeats and
For U.S. trotting.
USTA,
Yeah, yeah,
US Trotting.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
they seem to be making efforts to stay with the times, I guess, um, with their websites and online. Wendy Ross and the show they had down at the Festival of Racing in Elk
Mm-hmm,
Grove.
mm-hmm,
I was impressed with that. That was with their coverage of it.
mm-hmm. Yeah.
Better than what I've seen in the past, because I have been away from the game for 8 years, and but I still want to follow, and yeah, USTA is the place to go. So
Well, a lot of stuff has changed, a lot in those 8 years, to be honest with you. You know, the USTA, look, it's like every other organization in well, almost every organization in racing. I don't want to say that, but a lot of stuff has been computerized. Um, the staffs are not as big anymore, and I'm really glad that they're still able to publish a monthly magazine. But it's got to be difficult. It's got to be difficult.
yeah,
But the online stuff, yeah, it's really good. I look at the website every day. That's one of the ones that I look at every day. I just want to keep up with what's going on, basically. You
yeah,
know, um, yeah, but
yeah. They go ahead
no, the whole it's really a challenge under the current environment
to
in
keep up with it.
horse racing in general.
Yeah,
Regard whether it's harness or thoroughbred, honestly.
yeah.
Yeah.
So you moved on from Kentucky, um, the mid 2015 and 16. You started making an exit to head
Mhm.
to Maryland,
Yeah.
and um, did the casinos? I can't remember. Did the casinos have anything to do with that move? Like Kentucky, had they grasped, got a hold of they took in the casinos at that time, or
Where
not?
in Maryland?
In Kentucky.
In Kentucky? Yeah. Well, Kentucky Downs, I forget the year, but Kentucky Downs was the first track to put in the historical horse racing machines. That actually started in Arkansas I think maybe, I don't know, 2000, maybe 2001, I forget. So Kentucky Downs put them in because I guess there was a ruling that they were pari-mutuel, although that was repeatedly fought for years, as you know. And then, every other track resisted it. I think until they actually had clarification that it was okay, that they weren't going to put these machines in and then have them taken out. Although I think it came close. Maybe, I forget. It was before 2020. But when Churchill jumped in, Churchill had been very hesitant, but when Churchill jumped in, that kind of created it. Well, no, I'm sorry. Ellis Park came before Churchill, I think. That was before Churchill owned it. Ron Geary owned Ellis Park, but I think he put them in second. And then Churchill finally jumped into it. And of course, Churchill now owns Ellis Park and Turfway. So it's become a pretty lucrative business, and people will call those places casinos, which I get, because if you look at a historical horse racing machine, it looks like a VLT, a video lottery terminal, or a slot machine, whatever you want to call it. But the Kentucky Racing Commission governs them as pari-mutuel racing.
Yeah.
But obviously the revenue from those machines, as you can tell by the purses at every track in the state now, it's not just one or two, it's every track in the state. When you have a non-winners of one life, at Cumberland Run or Oak Grove, and the purse is $10,000, $11,000, $12,000, that's a lot of money. It's higher than Pennsylvania, or at least comparable to Pennsylvania, but I think it might be higher.
I think it is higher. I think Kentucky has launched to the top of the chain there. But how many years has that been going on with? They built the racetracks. Oak Grove was the first one to build.
Yeah.
Under the casino racino thing. So now there's two other tracks, harness, and you have the Red Mile. So whatever it's called, the casino racino, it's been a great marriage for horse racing and other game.
Well, generally, like Churchill Downs is just one company, but they'll call it like there's an HHR facility in northern Kentucky in Newport, which they opened before they rebuilt Turfway, knocked it down and rebuilt it. So it's called Newport Gaming. There's one in downtown Louisville, Derby City. No, is it that? Well, there's actually two in Louisville, actually. Derby City Gaming. So
the old Louisville Downs.
Yeah. And there's another one downtown, I think. So, the easiest thing to do because of all the nuances is to just call it gaming. Which it is. So.
That's so the impact of casinos, one could say it's been all positive. What is the negative?
Well, I think casino gambling has played a role in the decline of pari-mutuel wagering.
Yes.
Okay. And, putting money in a parimutuel wagering device is not the same as, playing the actual horse races. I think it's done a lot for, well, look, it's, owners, trainers, drivers, jockeys, whoever, rely on purse money to make a living. And, with a gradual reduction in racing dates over the past 20 years, you have fewer racing opportunities. So the higher purses for fewer racing opportunities, is kind of necessary for a state or a track to maintain its live racing product.
Yeah.
But clearly more needs to be done on the parimutuel side, but I don't get the impression that a lot's going to change because, I can remember writing about, takeout 20 years ago, and I'm not the only. A lot of racing writers have written about it. Handicappers have written about it. They continue to write about it. And, there are still racetracks that charge 25% on a pick 3.
Yeah.
And, I guess, and people who don't regularly go to the racetrack don't even pay attention to it. But, the number of core bettors is shrinking. And those people are very concerned about things like takeout and computer-assisted wagering.
Yeah.
But I just don't see a lot changing. I really don't.
No, I don't know what that answer is. I know if you step into the casino, talking about takeout,
The takeout's rarely more than like 10%, maybe 11. I don't.
and takeout is just what they take out to as operating
Yeah,
expense.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
The
So
house. The
right,
house.
and so volume matters when you're only charging 8%. Volume matters.
So it's that place that horse racing's found itself in. It wouldn't be where it's at without gaming. Certainly wouldn't be where it's at.
No.
And then but it's losing the better because of that. It's less play on the races.
You could argue that. Although sometimes I wonder, I think if somebody wants to play a machine, they're going to play a machine.
Yeah.
I think there are people, I'm sure there are some people who have gone from playing horses, to playing slots or playing poker. But I think it's there's just fewer people who want to take to invest the time in understanding how to handicap a race. It's really not just one race. You need to follow certain tracks, and you need to keep up with it almost every day they race. Go back, read the charts, watch the replays. This is the ideal scenario, is what I'm saying. A lot of people, including myself, don't have time to go back and watch every replay and everything. But I tried to keep up with it the best I can with the time that I can invest in it.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine, what someone who's not working in the industry, like, why would they even have the interest to invest all that time in it?
Yeah, because there's an advantage there, and there's a high value compared to the machines. However, you've got to focus on A, B, and C and connect some dots to get that advantage.
Yeah.
And to have that value. Today's world, they'd rather throw their money and $20 into let me pull this and see where it lands,
Mhm.
kind of thing.
Yeah,
Probably.
I think
I don't
that's
know.
accurate.
Yeah,
I don't think that means that horse racing shouldn't try to introduce new fans to the business.
yeah, for sure.
And when I say new fans, I'm not just talking about 20 somethings. I'm talking about like retirees
Absolutely.
who might have some extra income that they can play around with.
Yeah.
Um, a day at the races can be really nice.
Day at the races and having, like, looking at the program, looking at the horses, you don't even have to read nothing, but just
Yeah.
utilizing your brain a
Hmm.
little bit. And it's an enjoyment for anyone, especially a retiree. And I think a lot of things are missed. And if it's nobody's fault, it just,
Yeah.
um, come from this golden child age on horse racing, and they missed some few things because everything was so great as it evolved through from the 50s on, when they was getting on the front cover of the Sports Illustrated.
Yeah.
Um, so they weren't sleeping, but sort of like, and hey, social media, I'm on social media a lot, but I can't keep up with all of them. And so I know even I was going to ask you, what is your go-to social media?
I get my news now from X mainly. And I follow a lot of political stuff. Okay. But there's a core group of people, of horse racing fans on X, and they always, well, most of them have some very interesting things to say about, a specific race, the state of the industry, something that happened last night at Mountaineer that wasn't kosher. It's just, I mean, it can be a little overwhelming sometimes, but I think that there are people who have knowledge about wagering and handicapping. It's good to read what they have to say. Um, you know,
What would be, like, we need more betters, or the industry, I keep saying I'm trying to get out of that. The industry needs, more fans, horse enthusiasts, and understanding the enjoyment of a horse race. Go to Keeneland one day, and sit there
absolutely,
and talk about enjoying the races.
absolutely, yeah,
What
yeah.
what what do you think would
Keeneland
be
sells.
one thing that would help? For me, I would say, hey, go to Keeneland and sit down for a while and just take it all in. The energy you get there, you'll be a
Mhm.
happier person when you leave.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's a great experience. Um, you know, um, the food is very good. They don't gouge, so and it's just an established presence in Lexington that people just absolutely love. Not only locals. I mean, people drive down from Michigan, Indiana, Missouri, West Virginia, Tennessee. It's a big deal. Um, and a lot of racetracks many years ago used to be, I mean, nothing like Keeneland, but actually Keeneland was very sleepy. Like when the Meadowlands, opened in the mid '70s, okay, 30,000 people on a Monday night for harness racing. Okay, Keeneland was actually Kentucky racing in general, outside of the Kentucky Derby, was pretty sleepy. I mean, there was plenty of racing and the crowds were good, but I don't think it's anything like it as it's been, the last 20 years,
Yeah.
you know,
Keeneland.
Kentucky in general. Yeah.
Kentucky in general.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. 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 I don't, but yeah, that when you have a brand like that, it's kind of like having the Kentucky Derby brand.
Yeah.
It's
I was
it's
talking about,
basically everything,
yeah, a friend of mine, we were talking about branding the other day, a few days ago, and I brought up Keeneland because there is a line to get in that gift shop. When you walk in the
Mhm.
gates, like I'll wait till I leave. And then it's 20 deep, and they only let so many people in at a time because it's maxed out.
Mhm.
And the prices are just the same as if you went into a boutique somewhere. They're not necessarily like going to Vegas and walking in those stores, but they're, they're fairly, they look like quality stuff. No hats. And so I was checking them out. And so they have created some kind of experience and attraction. And I believe if I were to build a track, I would assemble a team. Or if I took over a track, maybe a few teams and say, hey, you guys are going to Keeneland. Take all the notes you can take.
Mhm. Yeah.
We want to copy them,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. And, but Keeneland also has the advantage of where it's located.
Yeah.
The view from the grandstand is just fantastic, you know?
Yeah.
Now the view from the grandstand at Churchill Downs really isn't, but it is not comparable with Keeneland, you know?
Yeah.
Actually, I don't think it's comparable with Ellis Park. I think Ellis Park's a nicer view. But yeah, but that doesn't change
Yeah.
the fact that,
And,
that the most popular race in the world is run there.
yeah. When first time I went to Keeneland was April 8th. Went down to see my accountant to do the taxes and had to beat that Cincinnati traffic. So I got there about 3 hours
Mhm.
early. And I thought, well, I'll go to Keeneland. I had a T-shirt on, and I was a little concerned. It was on a Wednesday afternoon, but walking, and I got in no problem. Parking, it was a little bit of a walk, but it was a very pleasant walk because the weather was good. And just as you're walking up, you're going to see 2 or 3 people that's going to greet you or say hello in green jackets, I think, ladies, different reasons. They're there to answer questions and give you help if you need it. And of course, I needed it because I didn't know where I was going. But this big, huge building, the back of not the grandstand, but that building entrance, it just looks like something so historical.
Mhm.
It's a very good feeling walking up to that and going in.
Yeah.
And it's no disappointment once you get in.
Yeah. But, the reason that, well, outside of the auctions at Keeneland, which really drive revenue, they're quite successful. You know, the fact that they haven't messed around with the number of racing days, I think makes a big difference because, if your success is only racing in April and October, there's really no need in Kentucky to even try to race more, because
Yeah.
there's 4 other tracks,
Yeah.
you know,
You know,
and I hear a lot of stuff, well, the only thing that's going to be left are boutique meets. The only thing that this industry is going to have left is tracks like Keeneland and Saratoga. Well, I don't believe I don't believe that the thoroughbred industry cannot sustain, multiple other tracks that might even race year round. I just don't believe that.
yeah.
And like on the harness side, um, you know, you notice that, even the Meadowlands only races twice a week. Okay. When it used to be Monday through Saturday night,
Yeah.
and that's with Freehold being closed for the last couple years. There's still, so I guess some of these guys either left the business or they're racing across the river in Chester, Pennsylvania. But it's really, really unfortunate. New Jersey used to be able to. New Jersey had 2 tracks racing 6 days a week. Excuse me. One was in the afternoon and one was at night. That's a lot of horses.
Yeah. That sort of ended at the turn of the century, started fading. When would you say that sort of faded?
I don't know.
Funny we can say the turn of the century now.
Yeah. Well, that was only 26 years ago, right?
Yeah.
In Jersey, it I don't know, it probably started in the I don't know, 90s, maybe.
90s.
Yeah, I guess so. New Jersey was pretty strong for a long time, but not anymore.
Yeah.
It's really a shame. It's a real shame.
Jersey's one of the weaker states. Is it? Did they ever get casinos?
Unfortunately, no. Well, Atlantic City has a stranglehold on them. I mean, they're trying to get a casino at Meadowlands and Monmouth, but so far it doesn't appear to be moving forward this year. But who knows?
Yeah. I guess Darrell, love him or hate him, either one, he's sort of been a savior for the Meadowlands.
Well, he's invested a lot of his own money into the place.
Yeah.
One thing about Jeff Garrell is he does. You're right, like him or hate him, and some people are on either side, but he speaks his mind. I mean, he's not afraid to call out something if he thinks something needs to be fixed.
I think he came into the business not came into it, but took over that track at the right time. Because some of the things he said needed to be said, but I mean, without the gaming, it's probably been really tough for a guy, even with that kind of money, to really.
Yeah, and the
I'm not on either side.
The Meadowlands was built by the New Jersey Sports and Exposition Authority, and the place that the Meadowlands was such a cash cow for, I don't know, its first at least 20 years.
Yeah.
Okay, at least, maybe even beyond. That money from the Meadowlands funded a bunch of other projects that the NJSEA undertook. It was that lucrative.
Yeah, I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And then when, I forget the year, but Chris Christie was governor, and he decided that the sports authority needed to get out of the racing business, and so they leased it out. And the New Jersey Thoroughbred horsemen got the Monmouth Park lease. They're struggling, and Jeff got the Meadowlands lease, and of course, as we know, he rebuilt the track, the whole grandstand clubhouse.
Yeah, I haven't been there since. No, I haven't been there since the new construction.
Yeah, it's a very nice place. It's nice.
Yeah.
It's.
Yeah. So casinos have been a big deal for racing. Racing's been a big deal for casinos. Maybe they'll.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll need each other.
Well, the casinos needed horse racing in many states to get those licenses.
Yeah.
I mean, when Pennsylvania authorized casino gambling,
Yeah.
It was Act 71. It was called the Pennsylvania Racehorse Development and Gaming Act.
Oh.
So, yeah, that's how it got done.
So we were talking about Keeneland. That's one of my favorite tracks to go to now. I haven't been there but once, but I'm gonna make it a yearly stop. Another one of my favorite races, I wanted to get to this before we run out of time, is the Little Brown Jug.
Yeah.
I really
Yeah.
like watching that race. For some reason, I like it more. I love the Hambletonian, but I love the Little Brown Jug. I just don't want to miss it, even though I may be states away.
Mm-hmm.
I want to finish up my day so I can get back either to a hotel room or maybe some kind of restaurant. They actually sometimes get to watch it, or I can sit and watch it on the internet, you know. But Ohio's another state that has been blessed with the gaming industry,
Mm-hmm.
or whatever we call it. Where do you see racing for the jug? Is it going to get to the $1 million purse money, or is it going to hang out at
Well,
where to that?
well, you started off by talking about the experience, and
Yeah,
I've been there live, I think 5 times, beginning in, I think, 1995, maybe it was
yeah,
1995. If somebody were to ask me, like, never mind Keeneland or Saratoga, but just a very different kind of experience. If they're willing to drive to Delaware, Ohio, do it. Go to it.
I agree.
And it's just to see that many people show up at a county fairgrounds. Now, it might be one of the biggest county fairgrounds. I've been to some of them for harness racing in Ohio that are, it's nothing quite like the jug, but the racing surface is really, really good. But it's just the crowd, they just really have a passion for it.
Yeah.
And the racing can be really, really exciting. I just, one thing I don't understand about, well, maybe because I don't understand Ohio racing politics, but if you look at the purse money that Dayton, Miami Valley, Scioto, and Northfield Park race for, of course, Northfield's purses are less, but they still run more than 200 nights a year. Fine, that's fine. But I don't understand, and even the county fairs. I know their purses have gone up somewhat, but I'm wondering about, like, why isn't more money set aside for Delaware? I don't understand it.
You said
I've also
experience.
never
Yeah.
understood why they were unable to get a license to put an OTB there or something. I just don't get it. I really don't get it. I don't know. But yeah, I watch it every year, but I'll be honest, I would much rather be there in person than watching
Yeah.
it on television.
I went for the life sign. I was there for that one, the most historical one anyway, or
Yeah.
in my view. It's the experience there is probably second to none for me. Delaware Jug Day
Mhm.
in harness racing, and I would compare it to the same atmosphere. I've never been to the Derby, but I would compare it for myself, the same kind of atmosphere as Keeneland. It's still different, but you still have this feeling it's given you, and it's like it's horse racing is 2 minutes of the experience. It's everything else that's happening, and I can't tell you what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's yeah,
And
I think it kind of has a mystique about it. It's just a county fairgrounds, but for some reason, having
it's
that one race, well, let's throw in the Jughead as well.
yeah,
Having those 2 races, I really wish that it was a bigger deal for harness
yeah,
racing in general, to be honest with you.
yeah.
I know the Triple Crown is in harness racing is kind of gone by the wayside. Um, I don't know whether, it should be redone. Or maybe, these races just need to stand on their own, which is, which the jug can stand on its own. And, the other two, what is it? The Cane Pace and the Messenger Stakes. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
that.
just about toast. Okay.
Yeah.
And it's
Yes.
probably been toast, but I think the problem with recreating the Triple Crown is there are some obvious races that you would want in it. And, I have a feeling that nobody's going to argue to keep a half-mile track as the third leg, which is really sad personally.
Yeah.
I don't know, but hey, I don't own horses, trained horses, drive horses. So, I'm just speaking as a fan and having an appreciation for, I think I think it's like one of the best days of the year in harness racing. Unfortunately, the handle doesn't reflect it at all.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
don't know much about the handle for that day.
Yeah, it's nowhere near, I think, what it could be. And you're talking about a 20 race program.
I wonder
This
why
is
that
not.
is. I wonder
I
why
don't.
that is.
I don't know. Maybe it goes back to marketing of the signal. I have no idea, to be honest with you. I don't. I'm not. I've never been plugged into the decisions that are made regarding the jug, the facility, whatever. But I do know that it's still extremely popular for people to go. You know.
Yeah.
Um, I've been. I went once, I think, earlier in the week, and there weren't a lot of people. Maybe they could just try to improve the rest of the week. It's only 5 days. It's a 5-day meet.
Right.
Maybe they could work on the other days too, and just try to do more with it. I don't.
Yeah. The handle I wasn't aware of because I've probably, like a lot of horsemen through the years, you're focused so much on the race, the historic
Mm.
of the mystique of the race, the handle and gambler. I keep saying this; they're long forgotten, and maybe not enough is done to promote them or give them. We're talking about $1 million race, which I think should probably happen, but planting a seed in the gambling world and wagering world, somebody could plant a seed and say, hey, we're going to have this payout, $500,000, $1 million. And
Mhm.
there's a way to formulate that to where that gets covered because of the handle that would create just in itself. If you could pull in big bettors, you know, for those days. I don't know if conversations like that are made.
I don't either. Really, I
And
have
maybe
no
they
idea.
are, but I know what I call chump change, you know, and gambling, it's kind of discouraging to the gambler. I'm not a heavy gambler, but I got friends that are, you know, because there's a lot of favorites that run, and there's nothing you can do about it on those stake days. But the creativity can still be there, figuring out what races to have the pick 8, pick 7, doing it every day, and having a race that is difficult to hit, but creating a handle at the same time.
Yeah, and you know, um, what's interesting is regarding the Oak Grove Racing Festival. Um, they held the eliminations for those two trots were held on a Monday afternoon. Okay. And if I remember correctly, because they put out a press release, I think that card handled like 870,000. Okay. And for a track that's kind of taken a while to get, and when you race on a Monday and Tuesday, it's very hard to get a lot of eyes on it, except for those who, would regularly bet
Probably.
harness racing on a Monday or Tuesday.
Right.
But so they had the final last Saturday. Okay. It was Preakness Day. I think they had a concert afterwards. I think
Yes.
they had, right. And they, in the amphitheater. And I did like quick math, looking through the charts on U.S. trotting, and I think I came up with like 470,000. Okay, so this is what's so difficult about horse racing, in my opinion. You want to have a big event, and you want to have it on a day or night when you're going to get the maximum number of people out to see it. Right?
Right.
Okay. But in turn, you're running up against the Preakness card. You're running up against, Belmont Park and about 20 other tracks that race that afternoon. Some harness, I think.
Yes, there was some good, there
Right.
were some stakes races.
So you already know going in that you're going to end up,
Sharing your money.
sharing your money, or yeah, and you're, but on the other hand, you don't want to give up the attention and the number of people who come to the facility that day. It's a great opportunity to introduce them to harness racing, but that takes a lot of work because you have to basically teach them how to bet.
Yeah.
And ideally handicap races. But so this is why a track like Oak Grove races on a Monday and Tuesday, because they can step in it some days and handle $500,000, $800,000.
Yeah.
And that's important too. So you just you sacrifice one for the other. But, if they had the event, say Monday, yesterday, okay, I bet the handle would have been a lot higher, but there probably wouldn't have been anybody there. So it's like, what do you do?
Well, there was a lot of people there.
Good. I'm glad.
I think it's growing, and I think the Ken Jackson has impressed me as much as probably anybody has stepped into that. I think one thing they should work on is the winner's circle attendance. Listen, when you win a $500,000 race,
Yeah.
there should be 20 people in that winner's circle, not 3 or 4. I don't know how to do that, but somebody didn't come to watch a horse race. You would think that, tracks.
The owners, you mean?
I would say the owners, like the stable. They got a lot of owners, and partners. It would really be nice to get that group. I don't know how you get them there, but somewhere there's still so many people inside the business that are not being reached, and given a carrot, dangling the carrot to get them there, whatever it is, and it's marketing.
You mentioned the stable. I came across a video. Anthony McDonald posted it of his entire drive of that race that he won with the filly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's like a 2-minute video.
He's
he he wore a cam, and he was talking. He was talking as the horses went to the gate, and then
he's on top of his business.
Good. It was very good. I like.
I like him. He's very good for the sport. His marketing is, it's above and beyond most other trainers. I'm talking about marketing to get people that's never seen a horse, maybe. And then delivering to his communication to his customers, I guess is what I'm trying to say, is second to none. I've watched his videos, and seeing how he communicates, and it's just he appears that he tries to communicate on a level everyone understands, and doing what I didn't see the one you're talking about. I got to look that up. To take and put that cam on and race, very strategic. He sounded like he couldn't have wrote it out any better for himself. But to talk during the race and then win it, I mean, that takes some skill.
Yeah.
It takes something to be able to do that, because it's wearing a camera ain't easy, and talking about it, talking your race. You say he's talking throughout the race.
Well, he was, like
giving a
he
little
was like,
narrative.
yeah. No, but like when they were getting ready to go to the gate, he was talking a little bit. Let me just look this. Hold on a second. Let me see.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure
Yeah, I enjoy watching
that I
his.
don't give out bad information.
I enjoy watching his
Really.
interviews. I enjoy watching his
it's
videos.
His post on X was ride along with Jailbird Jog. Not often I'll get to race the best, let alone beat them. We have great clients who support what we are trying to achieve, and slowly but surely we are getting it done. And this is on YouTube, and it's the entire race. So
Earlier I mentioned that one of the solutions, or one of the ideal things to do in the horse business, assemble a team and head to Keeneland and take notes. I would have to throw in there, take the same team and follow Anthony and take some notes, because he's doing a lot of things with communicating with his clientele and getting the clientele and making people want to become the clientele.
Yeah,
it's kind of key making people want to get involved.
Yeah,
he's created that.
Yeah, I work for an organization that represents owners and trainers, and I've picked up some things like some trainers are very effective,
Yeah,
at taking care of their customers, their owners, and I think it's on the thoroughbred side. I think it's a little bit harder to get owners because of the investment that's involved. I think, and I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that standardbred racing offers a lot more opportunities for someone to either just flat out buy a horse, for $5,000, and that doesn't mean that it's a $5,000 claimer. It means that, the horse could turn out to be okay. Or fractional ownership. There are some thoroughbred partnerships that do really well, but you're right. A lot of it comes down to communication, and you always know that a trainer's doing his or her part when they've had the same owner or owners for 20 or 30 years. I think that says it all, really.
It does.
I mean, we have people who are changing trainers like light bulbs.
Yes.
And but that could be the owner. That could be an issue with the owner, not the trainer.
Absolutely. I think one of the key components, I was thinking about this a while back, to a really successful run as owner, trainer, as a stable. And I think Ron Burke is prime example. I think the stable Anthony McDonald comes down to one word: loyalty. You look at Burke, not one of those players, the team, they're all loyal to the brotherhood, or to their brigade. Same thing with Anthony, or the stable. It seems to be the same thing, and him and his wife. that relationship seems to have a lot of the recipes. He says it, she does an outstanding job with what she does. So, and there's others, don't get me wrong, I'm not mentioning them, but there's two top guys that successful at a level, especially Bert. But him and his two or three partners, there's no thought for a second that somebody's going to come in and grab one, and disrupt whatever magic potion they have. They're keeping it contained because they're having fun.
Yeah. And really, to have those kinds of operations, where you're racing in multiple states, not stakes. Stakes too, actually, multiple states. And, usually at a pretty high level, you have to have fantastic help, like people that you can absolutely trust, because these guys can't be everywhere, obviously, I just mean, they must both have tremendous staff that's able to do this.
Yeah, it's very, very interesting, the common things that some of the top stables have, but hey, the big stable, Anthony McDonald, is pretty amazing. The things he does to bring to his clientele right along with that big breaks.
Yeah.
Well, we're running out of time here, but one more thing I'm going to ask you.
Sure.
And I'll let you kind of close it. What's the future of horse racing?
Don't ask that question. Please.
Optimistically speaking.
Okay. Well, let me say this. I'm, as someone who has worked in the industry for a long time, I'm glad I'm 62 and not 22. Do I think it's, that it has no chance at survival? No, I do not think that. Do I think it's going to look different? Yes. And do I think that it'll, that there's still some uncomfortable moments coming down the road with some racetracks closing? Probably, because that's kind of been the pattern,
It has been.
for 25 or 30 years. But, and I still think there's enough of a core group of people, and more so in certain states, like, well, Kentucky for one, Ohio on the standardbred side. Those are two that like immediately pop into my head. They're going to keep breeding horses. Okay. I don't think, I don't see the numbers dropping off as quickly as they will in some other states. And, as far as the racing product goes, you can change this, that, or the other thing, but, it's still about having horses, having people who want to own them and pay the bills, of course, people who want to ride and drive them, and people who want to train them. And, I'm not going to throw out like I give it X number of years. I think it's going to be around for a long time. And I think that the industry in general has kind of picked up on the fact that it needs to be socially conscious about the horse in general, that, racing, they're race horses, the industry races horses, and it needs to be very cognizant to make sure that everything is, that that the health and welfare aspects are there and continue to grow, because otherwise, and the door's already been open a crack or two, to let some groups in, who point out every time there's some kind of an incident. And I'll just leave it at the word incident. I don't want to get into all the stuff that goes on, but yeah, really, I think it's up to the leadership of each industry, to keep doing things, to grow it. I don't really know what else to say. I don't. I wish parimutuel handle would grow.
Yeah.
But we've already talked about the reasons why it's probably not, so I'm not going to get into that. I think the racing industry will be around for a while. And I plan to stay involved in it for as long as I can, even if it's on a part-time basis.
Yeah.
Just so, like, when I retire, I still want to have some kind of work to do. So I would stay involved in it. I have a passion for it, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I really didn't answer your question, but that's about the best I can do.
It's a great answer.
That is such a difficult, I don't know the future. I can't foretell the future. I really don't.
Well, I think fortunately for all of us that love racing, horse racing, it is one of the most well-structured industries. And I say that, I don't know when it become like that, but somewhere through the years, everything's tied into so many things. And I think, possibly it can make it through its bumps in the road, and possibly something happens to where, if social media is kicking in, you never know where that goes. You can't, it's unpredictable.
Right.
If it just something happens, all of a sudden it becomes cool again. We don't think like
you're right.
We don't think like that because we're just so embedded in it. But it could be that.
And like I was reading a story this morning about there's this guy that he owns Pizza Hut franchises, and he's got, like, I think the number was 60 or 80 around the country, and he's converting them all back to the way they were, like 20, like when it first started, like the tables, the decor and everything. And that in the areas where he's done this already, the response has been phenomenal.
Experience.
Can you imagine? Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Right. I read that. It's an experience.
Yeah. So this is why I think, like, races like the Little Brown Jug, there are people at some point, somebody's going to say, you know what? I just want to go back to a place that looks like it, like it did 20 years ago or something. Well, there's one right there,
Right. Yeah.
I don't know. Whatever.
Well, the future of harness racing is unknown, but it could be cool again. It could become cool again with some different things. So,
well, it's actually probably cooler now than it was in its, what some might call, its heyday. It was a place for people to go gamble, primarily with, like, Yonkers and Roosevelt were perfect examples. People went there to bet.
yes.
I'm not saying that they didn't follow the horses or certain drivers and all that kind of stuff, but there was no social media then. So, I think it was just a thing that a lot of people did. It was just a part of their lifestyle, and they didn't care if the races started at 8 p.m. They went.
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't happen today, but as far as the cool aspect goes, I think, with the massive increase in social media, some people, you know, are very, very good at marketing the product. I think there's a lot, like I see a lot of racing videos in my feed, you know, and they don't just come from the obvious sources. So I don't know. I think it's still pretty cool. I just wish that, you know, that more people had an interest in betting it. I do. I really do. Yeah, really.
Well, you know, I see some younger handicappers, what I call young. Um, it's nice to see, and you know when they're speaking, if they know what they're talking about. So they're not always going to be right, of course, but
Right.
so that's good to see. And well,
All
we're
right.
gonna close it
That's
out,
fine.
and
Thank you, man.
hey, just hang out a second. We're gonna close it out, and Tom, we'll see you racing.
Yes, you will. All right.
Been a pleasure.